Hi everyone, my name is Hamad. I'm from ITP Gaming, joined today with Steve from Team Liquid, who is the CEO and co-founder of the team. Good morning, Steve, or good afternoon. Or good evening, actually. Good evening.
Good morning, good evening. It's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Amazing, thank you. So I think, first of all, I'm going to start off by introducing yourself. So I believe you started off in finance. I want to start off talking about that. Before you were at Team Liquid, you had a career in finance. Where was that in finance, and how did that transition come about from finance all the way through to where you are today in Team Liquid?
Yeah. So I grew up on the East Coast in a place called Leesburg, Virginia, and my dad was a computer consultant. And so we had a computer in the house when I was growing up. Of course, external modem accidentally hanging up when I was playing video games. And, I ended up playing a lot of Nintendo and Sega and Super Nintendo and the whole gamut. And that's where I kind of first fell in love with playing games. I was pretty good. My brother didn't like it very much, but...
Are we talking about those days of the dial-up modem where if someone by accidentally picked up the phone, it messes up the internet?
You got it.
That gives away our age a bit.
External modem days, yeah, shows my age a bit. But that's where I kind of fell in love with gaming, and I ended up actually competing at local blockbusters in like NBA Jam and other titles, and I went to a regional competition and stuff. So that's kind of my youth. But then I went to college, business management with a focus on entrepreneurship and innovation, business management, and then I did a minor in creative writing. When I got out of college, I wanted to make money. It doesn't sound all that great.
It's an amazing goal.
My focus was. So what a better place than finance? So I went into finance and I started a financial planning practice in the Washington, D.C. metro area, had my own business, added staff, and I was doing a lot of day trading and asset management and life insurance and working with families. And that was great. I mean, I had a bustling career, significant amount of assets under management, and I was in love. I was comfortable with my life in the Washington, D.C. metro area. I had a nice condo and stuff, and I was happy. But, I was still playing video games quite a bit. And when League of Legends came out, I started my own team and we competed during beta. And then on weekends, I was traveling around the world competing in different events for League of Legends. So I was like in Seoul and China and Eastern Europe. And then I'd come back to my real life, and my career. And, at one point I couldn't do both. And I had an opportunity to kind of follow my heart and do what I love. And even though all my friends and family told me, don't do it, or you're crazy, you've spent the last decade building this business. What are you thinking? Don't go do this gaming thing. It's not lucrative. And one of my friends told me, she said, just follow your heart, Steve. Just follow your heart. Yeah. So I did that, and, went to California, started the business, bootstrapped it, continued to grow it, and merged with Victor, who had founded Team Liquid about 15 years prior. We got investment from Peter Guber and Ted Leonsis, Gold State Warriors and Dodgers, and we just continued to grow the company putting that capital to work, and now are the largest esports team in the world by measure of competitive success, tournament prize money. We have one of the largest fan bases, field the most teams and players. We have facilities on 2 continents, moving into 3. So yeah, it's amazing. Followed my heart, worked out.
Wow. I mean, there's some amazing achievements there. I just want to talk a bit about your facilities. So you mentioned that you have specialist esports facilities for your team at the moment with Team Liquid. Can you kind of give us a background of what those facilities are, and how that's actually helped the team grow and become who they are today?
Yeah. So in the early days of esports, it was very common to have your players live and work in a gaming house.
Mhm.
And what we noticed is there was a lot of burnout, mental health issues, depression, anxiety, not having a work-life balance, not having the right structure for coaches and analysts and sports psychologists, and a place to watch film and review and all of the other things that come with professional sports. So we knew we needed to build proper facilities to train our players. And so we went to one of our partners, Alienware, and we said, hey, we'd love to do this. And they were like, that sounds great. And what's the price? And we quoted, millions per year. And they were like, let's do it. And we were like, we love you, Alienware. You're amazing. Thank you. And so we built our first facility in Santa Monica. And then we just opened our facility in Utrecht last year. Haven't been able to use it, but it's a beautiful, beautiful facility. And then we have a smaller facility that we're expanding on in Brazil. And with plans to expand 2 additional facilities in the next 2 years. So it's been a great place to train and increase our probability of winning across all of our teams.
Amazing. What are the kind of training programs that you have within the facilities? I mean, past sort of, the basics that everyone knows, that everyone expects. Is there anything sort of special that you want to kind of highlight on?
What's really interesting is we have this area at the Alienware training facility in Santa Monica that's like an analyst room. Yep. And there's a bunch of screens on the wall where it's pulling a feed from all of the scrims that the guys are playing in. And that is getting saved into a database where we built a kind of proprietary software that analyzes all of that, tags and filters the film so that it's searchable by the coaches and the analyst team, so that we can pull up recorded VODs that are synced with our comms or the communication in game. And that allows for us to basically teach the players advanced concepts in game pretty easily. It's kind of like taking film from basketball or football, but like adding the whole communication aspect to it. And that analyst room is like, it's like a tech room almost. It's like a lot of software and data and the quantitative measure of esports performance. And I think we do a kind of best in class in the world job of taking it to new levels that haven't been done before in esports.
Okay, amazing. I believe you guys have 17 titles that you guys compete on within the team. What would you say is your most proud titles that you kind of know that, the team behind it are amazing? And what kind of drove that kind of wow factor out of them?
Yeah. Well, I know I hate to pick a favorite because we have so many different teams and players,
Saying which one's your best child?
Yeah, and when you look at my Slack profile we have at the company, and we have favorite game, and mine just says too many to choose. But I think in our history, we have had some pretty crowning achievements of success, and I think going to some of the biggest esports in the world. So let's just say like Dota, we won the international, which is we won a $25 million plus prize pool by being the best in the world against all international teams. And in League of Legends, which is another very, very big, consistent game that's been going for more than a decade, we won back to back championships, and then won the lock-in tournament. And then in Counter-Strike, we won the Grand Slam, which is, it's kind of the equivalent of like winning the Grand Slam in tennis almost. And it's kind of the crowning achievement in Counter-Strike. So, taking 3 of the biggest esports in the world and winning like the biggest that you can in each of those respectively. League of Legends still have a little bit. We haven't won the world championship, but we did pretty good. So yeah, I'd say those are some pretty proud moments. Yeah.
That's amazing achievements as well. I also want to touch base on Liquid Plus. You guys have a Liquid Plus program, which is like your, I wouldn't say loyalty program, but more a way that you can engage with the fans better. Can you kind of just sort of Where did that start from? I mean, you guys, I think, one of the first that actually had that as an esports team where fans can actually connect properly with their idols, shall I say.
Yeah. It was interesting. I was in a board meeting with our Team Liquid board, and Peter Guber and also Zach Leonsis, which is the son of Ted Leonsis. They both run professional sports teams, and we were discussing some of the problems in other professional sports. And one of them is actually continuing the relationship with fans that come and purchase tickets and come to a stadium, go to the tailgate, go in, watch the game. It then becomes a bit disconnected after that. There's not like an ongoing relationship besides following on Twitter or like following on Facebook or something. So for us, the beauty in esports and gaming is that all of the fandomship that's exhibited by gamers leaves a digital footprint. Like we typically aren't going in person. We do go, of course, to events, but the lion's share of activity and engagement and fandomship and, that tribalism happens online. And so the beauty in that is that we could actually build a platform where gamers, as they cheer, they watch on Twitter, they watch on Twitch, they type in the Twitch chat, they go to a Discord, they join a call, they buy from our store, whatever they're doing to show their affinity, we can use that information and then reward them for it and give them Liquid Plus points. And then they can redeem those things for cool experiences that we host. So instead of hosting a ball game at the Dodgers Stadium, we can host an online Discord event that is our host of an experience, and people can have a really good time and laugh and all the things that you would do in person but online that we're used to. And so it's like our digital stadium where we host really cool digital experiences, and that's where our fans come together. And it's the first that's ever happened. No other esports team has figured it out, and it's struggled to get stickiness in other professional sports because they're not as digitally native and leave as much of a digital footprint as gamers do.
When you said you've got experiences that fans can sort of redeem their points for, shall I say, what's probably some of the more notable experiences or more unique experiences, shall I say?
Yeah. So we did a really cool one with Hungry Box where if you had enough points that were awarded based on watching Hungry Box's Twitch stream, then you could get invited into an ultimate event that he puts on, and you could go into the bracket and actually compete with HBox and also like all the other kind of avid HBox fans in an ultimate tournament. And then he was casting it along the way. And so it was just a time to almost have this like competitive, but also play with kind of your favorite ultimate player or melee player and have a really good time. So like that's a memory that will live on with his fans for a lifetime, and they'll hopefully tell their kids, and then the kind of the multi-generational effect of having affinity towards HBox or Team Liquid.
So as a gamer, I love hoarding my points, holding on to them. I know Liquid Plus is all about holding on to points as well and having some amazing prizes that you guys have up for grabs. Now, I'd love to know from your side, what would you say is that one massive big ticket prize that the Liquid fans can actually redeem against? Or shall I say, do you have something maybe upcoming or something that's really unique that really makes that experience worth redeeming for?
Yeah. So it's very true. As a gamer, it's like you want to save your gold because you think that there's going to be like a more OP item that's going to be coming later. So you want to save for the epic, and so we've actually seen that a lot of that. One of the highest redemption things during our beta before we actually launched was buying pizza for our dev team, which is like really interesting because it's like very gaming culture to like give back and donate and
100%.
And so we've noticed a lot of that where some of our philanthropic initiatives and depending on what month or time of year, what's going on in the industry or ecosystem, like those things that are affiliated that we put together in Liquid Plus. But outside of that, something really cool. We have this. So one of the other things that we do really well at TL is make apparel.
Okay.
And we have some really awesome, high quality clothing. And so we designed this like jacket that is Liquid Plus, and it's just it's like a $400 jacket, $500 jacket that you'd go and buy at a store. It's like pretty amazing, high quality, and it's all customized. And it's got like some of your favorite streams that you watch embedded into the liner of the jacket and stuff, and it's just has a lot of personal touch to it.
Wow, that definitely is something different. So I want to move away from Liquid Plus now and move on to probably something that you asked a lot, which is the difference between traditional sports and esports. Now, in my opinion, traditional sports, everyone knows they're huge. We're talking about Olympics there, the NBA, the Super Bowl, which have huge numbers. But at the same time, esports actually have way more viewership than those sports combined together. And also the production value of the opening ceremonies, for example, like League of Legends, is just as good, if not better, than the Olympics or traditional sports, let's say. What do you think is that wow factor? What do you think is that element that makes esports way more popular, way more bigger? I mean, I don't have the numbers right now, but we do know those numbers are huge in comparison to traditional sports.
Yeah. It's kind of interesting. I call it like a convergence of a handful of factors that kind of came together to create this giant storm of activity on watching other people play video games. The first was the technology was put in place where you could watch HD content online for free. That just wasn't a thing based on bandwidth and costs and, even some infrastructure that needed to be built in order for all that stuff to happen, and the cost of bandwidth. And it just came down so much that you could broadcast really high def content for free. And then second, it was like the developers for a long time had considered esports just something on the side, like really minor. It was more about buying or building games, selling them for, $20, $50. And, the idea of even having a free to play game was just crazy. Like, oh my God, we're spending hundreds of millions of dollars and release a game for free. Like crazy. Like those board meetings were, people probably got fired for suggesting stuff like that. And, so that support from the developers, when it changed and they started thinking more about free to play and then having more people play the game and then generating significant amount of revenue from in-game cosmetics and digital goods, that changed the landscape from it being, it made it more accessible for folks to get into gaming and to start playing. And they noticed that they were actually earning more in revenue than they would have otherwise for selling just one time, $20 to buy StarCraft sort of thing. And so it was like support from the developers to actually, and then they started thinking, well, now let's market our games by showing the best in the world compete. So you're always striving to be better. You watch a play and, they're Call of Duty or League of Legends, and you're just like, wow, they are really good. Like I would never be able to do that. And it's just like me, like if I watched a basketball game and somebody throws a 3-point shot or half court shot, I'd be like, oh my, I can't do that. That looks amazing. I can tell it's amazing, but I can't do that. And that's kind of what's happening in video. There's so many people that are aware of it and they can see it and they can recognize that brilliance of athleticism, I would say.
I think it's also the fact that there's an unlimited amount of ways. So if you're taking something like League of Legends, there's not your traditional ball has to go into a net or ball has to go into a goal. There is an unlimited ways that you can sort of play the game and come to the winning sort of win. And I think that's what makes it so exciting, that you just don't know what's going to happen. And that I remember my first League of Legends tournament that I watched live. It was definitely that wow factor there, that I had no idea where this is going to go. and seeing that winning team go through to the finals was just like, wow, like it literally blew me to another level. And I've seen that with your teams as well. Past this, I want to know also, when it comes to Team Liquid, how do you guys select your talent? I think a lot of people would love to know, how do they kind of go from casually playing to kind of winning tournaments, and how would they get, found by a team such as Team Liquid, and get signed?
Yep. So the way that we scout new players or rookie players is we go into the in-game leaderboards for those respective games. So each game typically has, the developer makes a leaderboard within the game that's displayed. And then a lot of third-party companies will actually scrape that data and then filter it and present it on websites so that you can actually look at, what kind of statistics you want to filter by. If you think KDA is important, you look at that. If you think this stat is important, you look at that. And then you identify what players are, at least from a quantitative perspective, really good. And then we reach out and we say, it might be as simple as me messaging them in the respective game and saying, "Hey, what's up? I'm Steve. Love to, talk a little bit more about joining Team Liquid." And then we go through all of our kind of testing that we do to measure the qualities we believe make a pro versus Joe. So cognitive function, visual screening, we do some intelligence stuff. And then from that, there's a lot of personality kind of assessments, just like in other professional sports, like, there's no I in team, like how you work with others and teamwork and attitude and, EQ and some of the other qualities that make really good teammates. And from there, we put on either our academy teams or youth teams, and then they get access to our coaches and managers, and we see how they develop. And I would say, in comparison to other esports teams, our development system is pretty robust. It's still early in comparison to other professional sports, but we've invested a considerable amount because we see the value in supporting our players and helping accelerate their pursuit of winning championships. So that's kind of what we call the TL way.
Yeah.
When it comes to sort of managing sort of a player from, coming out from the amateur leagues, going to the pro leagues, what would you say is sort of the values that you could definitely look for that make you part of the Team Liquid family?
Yeah. For us, qualities that are very TL, mastery is something that's really important to us. Honing your craft, dedicating yourself to it. It may require sacrifice to other things that you may want to do simultaneously, but going all in and dedicating your mind share to it to try to be the best in the world. That kind of thoughtfulness that you bring to your own practice is important. We're a cerebral team, I'd say, an organization that lends itself to, not being as flashy and about, pop culture or, views and likes, but more substance. And so that's, some of the qualities that we look for, you can't always, especially in a team game, you find the best TL qualities in every player, but we do believe that once players come into kind of our system, our infrastructure, they come out better over time.
Another question I had as well is, you mentioned Alienware, which is one of your biggest supporters. If a brand, even a non-endemic brand, wants to come and support Team Liquid, how do they go about reaching you guys? What are the criteria they need to meet? And what are the benefits of that?
Yep. So we've got some pretty amazing partners, Jersey Mike's and Honda and SAP and Alienware and Monster and a number of others. And for us, most organizations reach out to us. There are a few where we're like, oh my gosh, we'd love to work with X company, and we start to work on those things. But we view it not as a sponsorship, but as a real partnership.
Yeah.
Like, how does this other company bring things to bear that we wouldn't otherwise be able to do? And once you add our teams, our players, our IP, how can we solve something really cool together in the community, in the gaming ecosystem for our players? So like the Alienware training facility, when we went to them, we're like, help us solve this problem with, burnout and mental fatigue for our players by building a facility. And so same thing for our other partners like SAP. They're helping us build this proprietary technology to be better at analyzing League of Legends and Dota as we train. And so it's really about forming those partnerships and bonds where it's not just marketing a product or service, but it's doing something that's revolutionary together. And so those are the partnerships that we seek. Those are the brands that we look for. And over the last 15 years, we've built just a really good partnerships team that helps see those things through to fruition so that we can dream big and make sure we execute. And that requires a lot of talent on creating content and video production and, digital and publishing that content and optimization with it, and on the ground for events, and, thinking through all the subtleties, and, all the details that matter in order to execute well. Like we just believe we execute way better than a lot of other teams. So that's how we've been able to maintain 100% renewal rate with every partner for the last decade.
So I think there's a lot of partners in the Middle East that would love to know how to get involved. And I think you've kind of answered that question very well. I also want to touch base on some amazing things that Team Liquid have achieved. And I believe you guys are actually the first esports team into space. Where did that come from, and how did that achievement come into place? I mean, that is an amazing achievement. I mean, it's, in the Middle East, especially at ITP Gaming, we love breaking records, but we would never think about how we'd come to breaking that record.
Yeah, it's it's very TL to like break records too. We were like, we were the most winningest team, most championships, first to do an esports facility, first, yes, to be in space, which is kind of cool. So during the Liquid Plus launch, one of the things we did around the launch of the platform was take Blue, who is kind of our mascot, and we launched Blue into space and strapped Blue up to all of the tech that was necessary, did this really cool live stream, and then Blue just kind of floated through the different atmospheres, and there was custom music, and we had hundreds of thousands of people just watching all of this happen. And we were kind of celebrating the launch with a real launch into space, and it was just a really cool thing. Now, I shouldn't. Well, there's more cool stuff that we're doing with regards to space. I can't.
That's good. That's good to hear.
Yeah, I can't talk on it, but
is it a rescue mission to get Blue back to Earth? Because I don't think Blue made it back. He's still out there somewhere.
Get Blue back. Yeah, where is Blue? So, yeah, we've got some other stuff cooking because, just kind of exploration and thinking about it in that way. It's pretty cool. So.
Okay, I'm going to point something out. So behind you on the wall, I see you've got some amazing little figurines, and also I noticed you've got a massive poster of your League of Legends wins. So I'm going to take it, being a League player yourself as well, when you started off, League is your favorite title, should I say? Because we touched base on that earlier, and it's got me thinking, just looking behind yourself. And in particular, why do you have those two moments behind you? Do you want to kind of explain what they are? Because I think a lot of our viewers would want to know, what is behind you at the moment.
Yeah, so a lot of the figurines, there's a lot of League figures. There's a Mutalisk from StarCraft. You can kind of see it a little bit. It's at the very top up there. So I used to be a Zerg player, and I played StarCraft back in the day. So a lot of the like IPs, I'm a geek. I'm a gamer. I love collecting this stuff, and they bring me joy. And then I've got these two moments here. The top one is championship for League of Legends, and the bottom one is another championship in League of Legends. So we won 4 back to back, and it was that first championship that we won, which is the bottom one. It was a really amazing moment for me personally, and also the organization, of course. We had been in promotion relegation the year before, which is kind of like in soccer, like you can get kicked out of the league, you're performing so poorly. So we were in 10th place out of 10 teams, and it was just, so stressful, right? And then during that off season, we just said, you know what, we're going to turn this around. And, just led through all of those decisions to redo the roster and all the infrastructure. And then we turned out on top and won a championship. And it was like, that's just the most joyous thing. Sometimes you put your all into something, it doesn't work out, but when it does, it's like pretty amazing. So it was awesome being on the stage right after that moment.
Serious 180 turn. That's definitely a serious 180 turn. What would you say is something that you've collected that is your secret pride and joy that is out there? Because I know, as gamers, we collect all sorts of things. I've still got my Sega Mega Drive, and that's my pride and joy. That was my first console,
My best collection are actually passes from all of the different gaming events that I've been to over the last 15 years or something like that. So like anytime you go to a gaming event or competition or anything in real life, you usually get like a badge in order to get entry and stuff. So I got them all hanging on my dresser thing, that I hang stuff, and it just like is a massive amount. So one day I'm gonna go and get everything framed and put in the right thing, but for now, it's a pretty cool collection for me. All those moments.
Amazing. And then I think I want to touch base. What is something that you could share with us that maybe no one else knows about you, a secret fact or something about yourself that would shock the world?
Oh my
God. I thought, let me go a little bit off topic.
Really?
Put you on the spot.
I'm a pretty transparent guy. Something about myself. Oh my gosh, I don't know. I at one point, I don't know why I did this, but I memorized every country in the entire world and by memory. So I don't know, it's like a random fact. So
we're talking about
stage, it's like
every
stuck into my brain. So I
geography.
I still have it down.
So we're talking about every single country here, or we're talking about going down to even to the capital cities all the way through, or
just every country. The hardest is Africa, which is it took me a bit to get
under there.
But
So should I take it that's should I take
anybody, so.
So I take it then, is there maybe a goal to that where you want to visit every one of those countries? As Tio, you guys travel a lot.
There's really nothing to it. I just, for some reason, I wanted to do it, and so I just did it. This is a long time ago too, and then it's one of those things that just sticks with you once you memorize it. So random. I don't know. That's what pops in my head.
It's random. If it makes you feel more comfortable, I can say that everyone's got stress food. So, like for me, my go-to food is Chinese. When I'm stressed or when I'm upset, my comfort food is Chinese. What's yours?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I love Indian, but I love spice. I love great spice. So yeah.
Okay, amazing. So thank you very much for joining us today. It's been an absolute pleasure going through the sort of the world of Team Liquid, where you get started and where you are today. Some amazing achievements under your belt, and would love to see more of you in the Middle East as well coming out here. Definitely. Thank you very much.
Yeah, and thank you so much for having me. This was a great conversation. It's great to meet you, and thanks for having me part of everything. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.